to edutainment for us and finish my videos for today. All right, so I hope tomorrow I'll be having time to do more, but I don't know. I just don't know. It will depend on the activities of the day because it is what it is. Hey. All right, so guys, welcome. I know you take time before you can be here. Some of you are already asleep, but I'm here. It is now 10 p.m. at night. So guys, Babu again. Babu with the drama. Babu had to clash with Sam Otandi. Babu had to clash over Sam Otandi over broad-based government. And of course, he stole the show at Dalmas Atieno's burial. If you know Dalmas Atieno, burial was going on. And Babu Owino, as expected, could not go without the drama. Of course, yesterday, you remember I told you that he may be buying on Wiper ticket. Let's wait and see what will happen. But as PS Raymond Omolo was speaking very tough and roaring at Dalmas Otieno's burial, Babu could not stand it. So he had to rise and challenge him. You know, that has been unexpected of when people belong to the same party. But now, of course, if you are here yesterday, you know what I did, my analysis. And some people come here and say, you are not a critical thing. I'm like, oh, it's right. It's all right. It's all right. You know, people are free to thoughts, right? This is a world of freedom, but with limitations, remember. So, Babu Owino actually stole the show. And let's just watch this a little bit in this funeral and see what we're going to have.
MCS Mamigori County, Warwako, MCA Mamigori County, Kumaunti, Warwako.
These people with the law.
We have Lazarus Amayo, ambassador, I show you somewhere there, Karibu Balozi. We have Dr. Evans Kidero, who was also the co-chair of National Steering Committee in Nairobi. Wadasumbi, thank you for your contribution and all the good job that you did. You'll speak at some point. We also have Senator Beatrice Sogola, who is also related to this family. Senator Karibu, Senator Eddie Okech of Migori.
All right, so welcome. If you are new here, just take your time and subscribe to the channel. And you can also watch other videos we've done in the series of analysis. Meanwhile, let's see the clash as it happens on. As Babu Owino hijacks Dalmas Otieno's funeral. So what did he say? Let's watch this.
Wazee Tidim, wazee Talala, warembo hai, wamama mme, yokanyana mke, ero kamano, mokwongo, adwana kau pale me makende, mondo me abo mos, ne family aya, awinjo ukoro we awach matan.
Guys, of course we are not getting that language. Not all of us can understand it, but we can see Babu Otieno actually had to steal a moment, and he stood about to kind of claim the broad-based government is not really fulfilling what is necessary, especially referring to some things here and there, all right? And when you look at the comment section, many people are like, I like this guy. I'm like this guy from Kajiado, from different places, Nyeri, and all that. They are happy with the vibe, you know, and they are really supporting and saying that he will be winning the gubernatorial seat. I hope it's not just the, you know, what happens most times with politicians. People promise and sometimes they don't offer what somebody is expecting. So MP Aladwa was even terrified by Babu Owino because of the kind of reception he had in this kind of funeral. And of course, possibly they were not willing even to give him a listening, but finally, with the wild cheers, they really had to let him speak, all right? Now, let's also see another aspect of Wanjiku. Wanjiku is one of the persons that has been standing on a very narrow end, and Kenyans had to rescue Wanjiku from money-hungry landlord. A landlord was actually trying to throw her out of the house. So let's just see this briefly. I saw this and I was like, hey, it's interesting, right? So let's look at this briefly. I think it's something very short. All right. We'll be coming back to the story. Of course, we've stolen a moment from David Wafula, but this is a video to actually show that some of the Kenyans were hungry because Wanjiku, a lady, was being thrown out of the house by a money-hungry landlord who wanted to bring in a new customer. So the lady was actually evicted by a money-hungry landlord who is raising rent every month from 170 to 180 to 190 to 200. And he always demands for rent by 5th, according to what the lady says. Now, she was evicted and by force after she had actually refused to raise money, like from 170,000 to 200,000. And finally, when she was being evicted, she got people coming around to rescue her. So such a situation that are very common actually, especially in Nairobi City. The landlords and sometimes even use these agent groups. They are money hungry in a way that they'll not care about the family. Even if you have kids, they don't care about anything. All they'll care about is to make sure that they throw you out of the house and have another person coming in. All right, so let's get to a different aspect because this is the second of our story. We can move on to the next. Now, of course, we've had a lot of MPs clashing over the sale of Kenya Pipeline, something that we saw yesterday, Ndindi Nyoro explaining in details why it's not necessary to actually to sell this. So, of course, the clash of MPs has come out clearly. And I don't know who will take the win at the end of the day. And as we wait for the story on Uganda,
enterprise, the Kenya Pipeline Company, is now officially gone for good. In a heated and chaotic parliamentary session punctuated by walkouts, finger-pointing, and accusations of backroom dealing, the National Assembly approved a plan to privatize up to 65% of KBC through a public share sale.
The eyes have it.
Supporters are calling it economic reform. Critics, however, are calling it daylight robbery.
This issue of Kenya Pipeline will bring a lot of excitement. Kenyans will buy in the IPO. But after the announcement of the financial results in February for the full year, the share company will collapse. And the share price will collapse.
Look at the way that things are done. You privatize Kenya Pipeline. Then immediately you bring to the House the privatization bill. That is a serious omission.
Now here's why they say this is not.
While you are going to borrow 876 billion from Kenyans, it means any right-thinking Kenyan would, because this is very strategic for the country, let's get another way of raising this money. And that's what we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, and Kenyans, that this process is not good for the country.
Number two
was the other day on media all over saying that members of parliament are being bribed. I want to ask him, has he bribed them today? Because how do you give us an order in the morning? Since yesterday, we know what you are discussing, and then you sneak in something. It's so pathetic that this government has been captured by the executive, and they are working for Ruto. They are not working for the people who have elected them.
Sema bilioni 5.7 zilipwe kwa mawakili. Na iko kwenye report ambayo iko kwa order paper ya leo 5.7 billion. Hii ni pesa inatosha kushughulikia mambo ya SHA. Hii pesa italipwa watu na haijafanywa verification ijulikane nani anaenda kulipwa.
The fact that you are giving someone leeway to control the price of fuel, that if they decide to increase the price of fuel, we will be the ones who will suffer. Two, we've had cases when we know, if you look at Kenya Railways, the privatization of Kenya Railways, we've had cases where they come in, strip assets, they sell, and they leave a shell. This is the only pipeline we have as a country, and I think it's paramount that if it's to be privatized, Kenyan people must be, participation must be.
Oh my God, so unfortunate for Kenya. And it is what it is. Kenya Pipeline Company has been sold after all. And that is when the privatization bill was brought to Parliament yesterday, and MPs had to clash over it. A lot of them actually have a controversial idea about what the president and the rest of, I don't know if it's Murkomen and his people, and Farouk and who else? Sudi. The close advisors, you know. So today the MPs had to come out and say that have you bribed us to do what you want us to do? But finally there was total silence, even as MPs listened to Ndindi Nyoro, but it is what it is. It had already happened. So privatizing organizations in government has its advantages and disadvantages. And one of the companies that was not supposed to be privatized is KPLC, because it is the only pipeline that is the reservoir for oil, or fuel rather. And fuel is one of the products that has been fluctuating and affecting the prices of everything else in the country. So allowing a private investor to manage it and decide whether to raise or lower the prices is such a complex scenario that I am foreseeing a lot of inflation or challenges that may happen in the country. But when such things happen, and they've already happened, it's very hard to actually talk about anything. Yeah. So there is something else here. Let's look at this.
Asante sana DG. Asanteni sana watu wa Nairobi. Tumewasikiza. Na nimewasikiza kwa makini. Na nimefurahi ya kwamba tumekubaliana tushirikiane. It cannot be business as usual going forward. Ile mambo wananchi wamesema, ukiona waziri amekaa siku mzima, nimekuwa hapa, tumekuwa na IG wa Kenya mzima. It's because we take these issues seriously. And we must implement these issues. So, kwa sababu tumechoka. Si niseme tu nimesikia. Hakuna haja kuongeza maneno mengine. Hakuna haja. But what we will have order in our city. I want to assure you. Hiyo siasa mingi ati tukifanywa hivi tutafanya hivi, there will be order. The rules are to be followed by everyone. And rules help us all operate. So whether it is border, whether it is nightclub, whether it is, rules must be followed. So I'm happy tuko na police hapa, tuko na IG, na the DIGs, we have the minister, we have the Ngao officers.
All right, so security, of course, maybe in the last 1 month or two, there were a lot of complaints about Nairobi City and the aspect of people who are attacking passerbys, sometimes demanding for money. There were situations of dragging and all that. And that's why Sakaja has had to be forced to come out and speak in the presence of the IG, CS, Murkomen, and all that. So I hope, beyond all hopes, that Nairobi will be safe again, because a city in a country needs to be safe so that when people are traveling or, masquerading in the streets, they don't feel any sort of fear, So Sakaja is actually trying to lay off the challenge that was placed on him since the times of demonstrations, because he was being blamed that he's the one who brought around goons, and from then, after they were left free without a job, they then had to run to the streets and attack people, So he's trying to disillusion that by talking about security for the first time. How can it be 2 months, something is happening, he's the governor of Nairobi, and he's not talking about it? But he's now getting, the gist, the gist to talk about this when it's too late. Does it even make sense? It doesn't make sense, right? Because where was he all this time when people are being, terrorized in Nairobi? You would wonder what is happening, I wouldn't be convinced. Maybe let's wait and see if something is going to happen. Meanwhile, Bobby Njagi and Ayo have been abducted in Uganda. Of course, from Bobby Wine's report, they were abducted from one of the petrol stations before they were driven away. And so far, the social media in Kenya and the vloggers have gone on to really filter, or rather fill the streets, the social media streets, with a lot of demands. However, Uganda has not spoken. You look at this, democracy is a problem. And especially so in the neighboring countries, Uganda and Tanzania, it is worse. Those countries actually have more of advertisements for campaigns, because one party will be buying, the other one has been frustrated. So there's no competition per se. When you look at Kenya, there is a mature sort of democracy with few limitations here and there. But when you go to Uganda and Tanzania, has bro, hi, big up to you, welcome, thank you so much for showing up here. It's too late, but at least when people show up on the platform, we appreciate, because we are just making sure that before we sleep, we have done our video. Boniface Frank Lucalo, welcome, karibu sana. All right, so you realize that the abduction of Bobby Njagi, Ayo, in Uganda is not a new idea, because Uganda, they really abducted Besigye. You remember Besigye? Besigye was abducted in Kenya and taken away, and finally found somewhere, All right, Has said asante. Okay. So if you are new here, remember to subscribe to the channel to support your sister here in the political analysis, and also share and check on our other videos that we've done earlier. More so their live streams, because videos I did long ago, but for the last 3 months I've been doing live stream to push watch hours and also push the watching aspect, because live streams people tend to come at least and watch. So thank you so much. So what is going to happen to the activists who are stuck in Uganda? Where would they be? Those are the many questions people are posing, and families of the two, of course, are shaken because they don't know what is going to happen next. And of course, this is not the first time, as I've said. And even when you look at East Africa in general, the other month we had an individual was abducted in Tanzania, right? And came back after a lot of demands were made. Yeah. So it happens that the Kenyan activists are so courageous, they want to even cross the borders and go help, maybe. Of course, they were going to help in campaigns that Bobby Wine was conducting, but it has been a harsh treat for them. So let's look at something here to support whatever we are saying before we proceed on.
Stop
This is
taking
it.
meeting notes and
Let's
let
skip
ClickUp
the
AI Note Taker do it for you. It
commercial
allows you to focus on
ads.
your meetings, not your notes.
Harakati wa Free Kenya Movement sasa wanatishia kuandamana na kuvamia ubalozi
Nicholas Ayo walipodaiwa kuchukuliwa na watu wasiojulikana kutoka eneo la Kireka huko Kampala, Uganda. Usiku nzima wa kuamkia leo na kutwa nzima leo Alhamisi, jamaa, marafiki na wanaharakati wenzao humu nchini Kenya pamoja na wanaharakati wa Uganda wakijizatiti kufahamu waliko na hali yao kwa sasa, ila juhudi zao hazijafua dafu. Mgombea wa urais nchini Uganda Bobby Wine akitoa taarifa katika kurasa zake jamii na kulaani utekaji nyara huo unaodaiwa wa wawili hao. Bobby Wine amesema nikinukuu, tunalaani vikali utekaji nyara wa wanaharakati wa Kenya Bob Njagi na Nicholas Ayo uliotekelezwa na watu waliojihami kwa silaha. Wawili hao walitekwa katika kituo kimoja.
Yeah, of course, when you understand the calculations of Museveni actually said that because he got power through the bush, anybody who wants to lead Uganda must go to the bush. You know, Samson Mukala, karibu sana, welcome. And thank you so much. If you are new here, remember to subscribe to the channel, and you can also press the notification bell just in case we are placing any video. You are alerted if you like our work. So thank you so much. So Kenya, right? So Bobby Njagi and Ayo were actually arrested in Uganda, and you know, their efforts were to help Bobby Wine in campaigns. And of course, while they had gone to join him in the campaigns, it was unfortunate for them because they were held up and taken to a place that is not known. And of course, understanding the aspect of Uganda, it is so clear that they may be undergoing a lot of torture because the reality is that Uganda has nothing to do with the democracy at all, you know. So we've seen Besigye. When Besigye was picked in Kenya and disappeared, by the time he came up, he was looking like a prawn, you know. His face had changed totally. Hush, bro. Mamake, please. What are you saying? Unauliza nini? Mamake, please. What is this? Okay. Just see something here. But the fact of security is something that is very important. I don't know what Kenyan activists would plan to do in the so that they don't encounter such situations, because they are threatening, they are worrying also. However, when you are an activist, sometimes you have to dare, just like the political news reporters and war news reporters do. So let's check on this a little bit before we proceed.
is encouraged as they traversed rural areas. According to a friend who spoke to us on condition of anonymity, the activists left Kenya on Monday and drove to Uganda in the company of 2 Ugandans. Once in Kampala, the Ugandan companions went home, leaving the 3 Kenyans to link up with Bobby Wine's campaign. On Tuesday, they moved across Buyende and Kamuli with NUP leaders as they campaigned ahead of the 2026 presidential elections. But by Wednesday afternoon, the mission took a darker turn. The group had stopped at a petrol station to repair their car when everything went south.
Around 3 p.m., there are some guys who came with a van. Looked to be gray shade in color. People came out with guns, like there were 4 of them. So there was also a lady who was seated in front. They just took Bob and SSG Oyo Ochieng, who is the Secretary General.
The witness who was in their company says he too was picked up but later released.
I told them that my car is not locked. I cannot maybe go to where I don't know. And then they asked me to just get out and then go and lock my car.
The gunmen sped off, and within moments, Njagi and Oyo's phones were switched off. Alone and in the dark in a foreign country, their colleague has not reported the matter to authorities, fearing for his safety.
I don't know where Bob is, but I don't know which police station he is.
Of course, even if it were you, how would you go to report in a police station and you know the mission which these guys were on? And of course, the authorities of Uganda have been dominated by Museveni himself. So there's possibly nothing that is going to happen if you go report anywhere. And for fear of his security, of course, if he goes to report, he may be arrested and dealt with, right? All right, so currently another saga that is trending on social media is about the global narcotic cartels that are exploiting the Africa's busiest airport. Guess which airport is this? And let's see this.
Tuesday night, May 13th, 2025. Nothing betrayed the quiet of the night at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. On the surface, it was all good and ordinary. Families embracing at the departure halls, trolleys humming across polished floors as vehicles necked in and out of the terminals. It looked every bit the perfect, uneventful night at East Africa's busiest gateway. Notice what happens. When every other bag is scrutinized, this briefcase carrying the drugs is conveniently nudged away. The rogue official does not want any of his juniors to check any of Dos Santos' belongings. And just like that, a suspected international drug peddler has just beat JKIA's elaborate security installations and off to the departure lounge. Every day, JKIA handles tens of thousands of passengers and huge amounts of cargo, connecting East Africa to Europe, Asia, and the Middle East.
All right,
it is the only airport in the region with direct flight.
Of course, Jomo Kenyatta Airport really takes out so many people from Kenya. And there are situations whereby people have been nabbed, but just few cases. However, it happens to be clear that a lot of narcotics are going through Jomo Kenyatta because we have a network, some officers who understand the customers who come with narcotics, and all they have to do is to make sure they're the ones checking the bags without necessarily scrutinizing everything, and it crosses the borders, goes wherever it has to go. So every night, every day, people wonder how the narcotics operate in Kenya, but the reality is that there is a serious network and people involved, those who are highly informed at the same time, are highly powerful to make sure that these narcotics go by. Of course, narcotic business seems to be thriving because of the amount of money such people receive in kickbacks, and thrive because salaries in Kenya is another problem. And so once officers are compromised as a result of seeking better money out of, compared to the small beans. Do we call them beans, or what do we call them? That they receive from their employers. So, right, away from that, we need to move to another story before we come to an end of this. Of course, we have ghost schools coming about. And the funny thing is that as schools delay to receive money for capitation and complain while we are just 2 weeks away from closure, it happens that ghost schools receive money so easily in the name of existence when they are not. Strict measures are being taken, and consideration of other ways to prevent this is being done. However, maybe whoever is in charge is not so much interested in killing this because it's a cow catch for somebody. So let's get to now watch a school. There is a school here that has been shown in EMURUA Diki, a school that is rather in a very dismal situation. Let's play this.
The pictures that welcomes you to Chebonei Primary School in EMURUA Dikir, Narok County. Even getting here is a struggle. A dilapidated road mirroring the infrastructure hurdles that define this village. For over 15 years, parents and residents have been pleading with the Ministry of Education and Narok County leaders for intervention. Their calls, however, have largely gone unanswered. Established in 2008, Chebonei School now stands in decay. Were built by parents, others through CDF, and another by World Vision. Today, many are weakening, think of collapse.
The reality about Kenya is that sometimes we expect that there is the very best around us. And even when we call upon CBC and talk about the fact that it will be successful, I just wonder. Because sometimes you walk in some schools, they are in a dilapidated, do we say dilapidated situation, right? Yeah, dilapidated situation. So you find that buildings are kneeling, toilets are, I don't know whether they are flying, and the roofs are almost dancing, and the population in some of the classes is just too much. Even secondary schools, leave alone primary schools. You may find a place where we have 3-decker. People find it funny, but the reality is that if you walk to these schools, you'll be surprised that some of the schools have 3-deckers. Some of the schools don't have a field to play, and that is why currently, I don't know, for those of you access students, most of them are having limbing problems. When I was a student in school, I never student limbing. In fact, I was in a day school. That was unimaginable. Finding a student limbing unless they were playing and fell off or had an accident was not something to find. However, I've discovered that when you look at boarding schools, most cases, you find students come from home, they're okay. But after 2 weeks of settling at school, some of them are having swelling legs, some of them are limbing, and they are developing complexions that might lead to amputations and all that, because they're kind of idle. Can I say idle or inactive? I think most students are becoming inactive because as we crowd schools, we don't have space for playing. So children come out of class and they just take the air burgers on the verandas. Some of them just lie about, especially girls are very lazy and they are moody. So unless really pushed to understand the role of sports, and sports do not have to necessarily be ball games or running. We have even dancing, but I don't know why schools do not embrace dancing, rope jumping. These activities used to be in primary schools like a joke. Even playing with the sand and all that used to be a very funny, very funny games. However, you realize that these ones are needed back in high school. And I hope that as CBC comes back, maybe people will embrace to take them back to the learners so that we don't have learners who are actually having amputations of their legs, some of them swelling legs, limping around. It was only easy to find someone who is 70 years, maybe and above, limping. But these days, a 10-year, 12-year, 16-year-old will be limping in school and will be surprised, why is this happening? But remember, these people eat all day, from lunch to breakfast to supper, and they sit all day. They don't practice anything, they don't jump around. And even if some are involved in activities such as music or drama, they are very few. And again, music or drama just takes a while, like let's say a period of 6 months, and that's over. When it comes to games, not all students are involved. So with limited space, of course, the number even goes lower. So these are some of the consideration. I don't know whether anybody's watching out there and is ready to do the right thing. But From observation, there are some illnesses that are coming as a condition of lifestyle. And this lifestyle is being pushed by schools because students take a lot of time in school, you know. Yeah, so let's hope that as TikTokers target to build the 12 level hospital project with multi-billions. The best will be done also in schools. Will they plan also to improve schools? Do they plan also to improve the welfare of the activists? What about the aspect of KPLC and all that? So these are some of the aspects we've covered today, and I may not take more time than now. I'm glad I've already taken enough of your time, unless there is questions to answer, and we call it a day so that I go back to edutainment for us and push for some minutes again, because I can see the moment I just be passive, my watch hours are going down. I don't know. Sometimes you look like you want to cry, but it is what it is, guys. So bye-bye. Let's meet later.